Hi, I'm Tim. In this lesson, you'll learn how to play Chopin's Prelude in A major. While this piece by Chopin is only 16 measures long, it's fairly challenging. If you don't have much experience playing classical piano, you may want to try some of the easier lessons available in GarageBand before learning this Chopin Prelude. Frederic Chopin was a Polish-born composer and pianist who lived much of his life in Paris, France, but retained his Polish roots. Most of his compositions were written for piano as a solo instrument. He's often called the poet of the piano, and is considered a major figure in the Romantic period of Western music that lasted from the early 1800s until the early 1900s. This Chopin piece is a prelude, which is a short composition sometimes written to introduce a larger piece, and occasionally, as with this Chopin prelude, written to stand on its own. Chopin wrote a series of 24 preludes, one in each of the 12 major and minor keys. Each one has its own unique character. This one is the seventh in the series. It's in A major and in 3/4 time. It's made of 8 two-measure groups, which we'll call figures. Each figure shares a common rhythmic idea or motif. These figures form 2 8-measure phrases. Before you get started, go to the play chapter of this lesson and listen to the prelude all the way through so you'll have a better idea of what you'll be learning. This Chopin prelude starts one beat before the first complete measure. I'll play the first figure for you a couple times. Listen to the rhythm. Let's start with the right hand. Begin with your first finger in position over the E and your fourth finger over C sharp. Your hand will be in this position for the entire first figure. The top notes of the right hand are the most important part of the melody, so make sure they always stand out a little from the rest of the notes. Play just the top notes of the melody to get a feel for the figure, like this. Play it with me. 1, 2. On the second quarter note B, try switching from your third finger to your fourth. So the fingering for the figure is first, fourth, fifth, third, fourth, fourth. Try that. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Switching to the fourth finger will feel more natural when you add the notes of the chord under the B. After the first 3 melody notes, play the full right hand chord with your first finger on D, second finger on G sharp, and third finger on the B. These are 3 notes of an E dominant 7 chord. That chord is repeated 2 more times, but switching the B to be played with your fourth finger. Play those 3 chords with me, starting on the second beat of the measure. 1, 2, 3, 1. Again, watch the finger on the B. 1, 2, 3, 1. Position your hand for the start of the piece with your thumb on the E and your fourth finger on the C sharp. Then, to move your hand into place for this chord, just move your first finger down to the D and let your second and third fingers fall naturally on the G sharp and B. Try the whole figure like this. Play it with me. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. There's a slur marking for the entire figure, So play the notes with a connected legato feel, lifting with your wrist at the end of the figure. While you're playing the repeated chords, try to keep your fingers as close to the keys as possible. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The left-hand part for the first figure starts on a low E, then plays 2 octave E's above, like this. Start with your 5th finger on the low E and make sure your hand is spread out over the octave so that your first finger reaches the E above. You won't play this upper E with your first finger, but it's a reference point for you to move your hand up to play the next set of octave E's. Play that with me. 1, 2, 3. Chopin used sustain pedal markings that align with the left-hand part, so use the sustain pedal starting with the low E to help blend the notes together. Play it again with the sustain pedal. 1, 2, 3. Even though this piece is to be played smoothly, it's important to quickly move your left hand into position up an octave just after playing the first low E. 1, 2, 3. Before trying this figure with both hands, you should feel confident playing the right and left hands separately. Work on these parts with the exercises in the practice chapter before you move on. Chopin marked this prelude as piano dolce, which means quiet and sweet. So keep the figure soft and light when you play. Here's the figure with both hands. When you play with both hands, you'll find that the first finger of your left hand is going to be playing higher than the first finger of your right hand. This is an interesting fingering that happens in a few figures of the prelude. For this figure, the first finger of your left hand should be over the top of the first finger of your right hand. Put your hands in position with the 5th finger of your left hand on the low E, and your hand spanning the octave, and with the first finger of your right hand on the E, and 4th finger ready to play the C sharp. Try it with me. 1, 2. Use the sustain pedal starting with the first note in your left hand. 1, 2. One more time, keeping the notes connected. 1, 2. The rest of the figures in this piece use the same rhythmic motif. They all start with a single low note in the left hand, which then jumps to a higher chord. And they use the sustain pedal in a similar way. So you'll find that working on the elements in this figure will help you play the following figures as well. The second figure of the prelude sounds like this. In this figure, the right hand is playing intervals of thirds and sixths. Let's start with the top note of the melody with your 5th finger on F sharp, 3rd finger on the accidental D sharp, E, then 5th finger on A. Play that with the same rhythm as the first figure. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Here's the right hand part with the lower notes added. The first three notes are a series of thirds, D and F sharp, down to a B sharp and D sharp, C sharp and E. Play that much. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. From there, play the C sharp and A for the final three chords. Try the whole figure with me. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Last time. 1, 2. The left-hand part for this figure is very similar to the first figure. This one starts on A with your fifth finger, making sure to span the octave with your hand, then jumps up to play an A and E using your fifth and first finger. Play that part using the sustain pedal. 1, 2, 3. Move quickly from the low A to the octave with your fifth finger. 1, 2, 3. Again, get comfortable playing each hand separately before putting them together. Here's the figure with both hands. Try it with me. 1, 2. Keep the notes legato. 1, 2. Last time. 1, 2. The third figure goes like this. The right-hand part is still playing intervals. Starting with the top notes of the melody, play C sharp with your fifth finger, down to the A sharp with your third finger, B, up to D. Play that much. 1, 2. Again. Adding the harmony line below creates a series of 6 this time. E with your first and C sharp with your fifth. C sharp with your first, up to A sharp with your third. D with your first and B with your fourth. Then F sharp and D. Let's play that very slowly. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. Chopin uses a tie to show that you should leave your first finger down after you play the D and B. Sustaining under the 3 chords at the end of the figure. Try that. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. The left-hand part keeps the same rhythm, this time back to E, then up to E and B with your fifth and first finger. Play that using the sustain pedal. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. It's even more important with this figure to learn the right hand part well before trying to put both hands together. Take some time and work on just the right hand part for the third figure in the practice chapter before going on. When you feel ready, try both hands together, very slowly. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Last time. 1, 2. The fourth figure goes like this. This figure is a little easier than the last one. It still has intervals in the right hand, and your left hand thumb crosses under your right hand to play the chords at the end of the figure. Start with the top notes of the right hand melody, still using the same rhythm. Begin with your third finger on G sharp, then A with your fourth finger, up to 3 C sharps with your fifth finger. Play that much. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. The harmony starts with a fourth, with D on the bottom and G sharp on the top. Then down to a C sharp with the A above. Then move your fifth finger to the C sharp for the last 3 chords. Try that part. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The left-hand part makes a big jump from the low note up to the chords. The first note is an A, 2 octaves below middle C. If you're playing an electric keyboard, you may not even have this note. If this is the case, just play the A an octave higher. Then move your fifth finger all the way up to the E below middle C. This is a big jump, so practice back and forth between these 2 notes to get used to it. Play it with me a few times. Again. One more time. To build the full chord, you play an E with your fifth finger, A with your second or third finger, whichever is more comfortable for you, and the octave E with your first finger. Now try the left-hand part for the figure. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Last time. 1, 2, 3. Once you're comfortable with playing each hand separately, try them together. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The fifth figure is almost exactly like the first. The only difference is that a G sharp is added in the right hand on the first chord. Play the right hand part with me, adding a G sharp with your second finger along with the C sharp on the first beat. 1, 2. The E is tied, so it holds through the G sharp and the upper melody. 1, 2. The left hand part is also the same as the first figure. Play both hands together. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. The first part of the sixth figure is exactly like the first part of the second figure, but the chords get more dense for the second half. It sounds like this. Try these thirds using this fingering. Fourth second, third first, second first. Play it with me. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. For the first chord, the C sharp and E are held over. And using your third and fifth finger, add an A and C sharp above. Then play all 4 notes for the second chord. Try it with me. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The last chord of the figure is an F sharp dominant 7. For the right hand, just move from the A natural of the previous chord to an A sharp with your fourth finger. Play the right hand part for the entire figure. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. Chopin also added a lower A sharp to this chord. Adding this note makes the chord pretty challenging, and it helps to have large hands to play it. If you'd like to try adding this note, your first finger needs to play both the A sharp and the C sharp at the same time, like this. Then the rest of the notes of the chord stay the same. You should consider this note optional, but worth trying if you really want to challenge yourself. The left-hand part for the sixth figure goes like this. The first measure of the left-hand part starts on a low A, then up to octave A's with an E in between, using your fifth, second, and first fingers. Play that measure with me a couple times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The final chord of the figure in the left hand is an F sharp, C sharp, E, F sharp. If your hands aren't big enough, you can leave out the upper F sharp. Practice going back and forth from the A chord on the previous beat to this F-sharp dominant 7 chord. Now play the left-hand part for the whole figure, starting on the A. 1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3. For this figure, use the sustain pedal like in the other figures, but do a quick up-down as you play the big F-sharp dominant 7 chord at the end. The harmony changes at this point, so it's important to avoid having both chords blend together. Once you've learned each hand separately, try playing them together. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The 7th figure has some challenging fingering. It goes like this. Play the upper melody with your right hand using your 3rd finger on the C sharp to D and up to F sharp with your 5th finger. Play that much. 1, 2. The fingering gets tricky when you add the harmony. For the first interval, play the A sharp with your 2nd finger and the C sharp with your 3rd. Then use your 1st finger to play the B along with the D above with your 4th finger. Then a B with your 2nd finger while moving to the F sharp above. And while repeating the F sharp, play an A with your 1st finger, then down to a G sharp with your 1st finger. Try the full right-hand part for the figure with me. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. The left-hand part starts on a low B, then makes a big jump up to F sharp with your 5th finger. Play back and forth between the B and the F sharp. Add the D, and then the B to the F sharp. And for the last chord, move from the F sharp to an E with your 5th finger. Play the left-hand part. 1, 2, 3. The sustain pedal part for this figure is like the previous one. Right after you start the last chord, quickly release and press the pedal. Play both hands together when you're ready. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. Here's the last figure of the prelude. First, the upper melody. Begin with your third finger on G sharp, up to B with your fifth finger, then with your fourth finger down to A, then jump up an octave for the final three A's. The octave jump can be challenging. Since this is the end of the piece, it's okay to take a little more time while your hand makes the jump to make sure you can get into position while staying relaxed. Play that with me a few times. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. To add the harmony, start with the fourth by playing a D below the G sharp. Keep it there with the B above, then drop down to a C sharp with your first finger, and make the octave jump with this interval. Before playing the whole figure, practice the octave jump with the C sharp and A a few times. Now try the whole thing. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2. There's one more element to add to this final right-hand figure, a grace note on A leading into the final chord, like this. After you get your hand in position for the final C sharp and A, play the lower A with your first finger before you play the chord. Try that a few times. When you play the grace note in this figure, it's tied under the final three chords. Play the entire right-hand part for the figure. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Last time. 1, 2. The left hand for this figure is almost like the left-hand part for the fourth figure. Start on A 2 octaves below middle C. Then jump up to play octave E's with the A. Just leave out the lower E on the final chord. When you're comfortable with each hand separately, try playing them together. 1, 2. Again. 1, 2. Last time. 1, 2. When you put all of the figures in this Chopin prelude together, you can change the feel of the piece by how you choose to connect them. Listen to how I connect the first 4 figures of the piece. The end of the 4th figure is also the end of the first phrase of the music. You can emphasize the space here a little more, giving the music a little extra time to breathe and relax. Here's the end of the fourth figure leading into the fifth. Chopin provided very few dynamic markings for this prelude, so use your own instinct to change the volume of your playing through the piece. He probably intended for it to be quiet throughout, but try giving each 8-measure phrase a little dynamic shape. Start out quiet, increase the volume just a bit, and then come back down to gently finish each phrase. One important dynamic marking Chopin did provide was a crescendo, or a gradual increase in volume, in the sixth figure leading to the big chord. You should pause a bit longer on this chord before gradually bringing the volume back down to finish the prelude as quietly as it began. If you'd like to learn some other music, you can find more piano lessons for classical and pop music in the GarageBand store. I hope you have fun.